The Agile Toolkit. Hi, I'm your host, Bob Payne. I'm here at the Lean Agile DC 2016. I'm here with Max Keeler, one of the speakers, a longtime friend, first-time caller.
Yeah,
I think we haven't interviewed, but
that's right.
we haven't talked.
True. Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
So you listened to the Agile Toolkit podcast a while back.
Probably in 2006, 2007.
Yeah, I started in like 2005. So
is that right? Yeah.
Those were the early days.
When I lived on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
Near you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you gave a talk today, sort of 5 points related to Agile, the lack of Agile, the Lean, the lack of Lean, the emphasis on experimentation, and I often use the Motley Fool as an example of what I call the sort of post-Agile company where the outcomes get enculturated and not necessarily the techniques.
Yeah.
Or they might go by the wayside.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we first rolled it out in 2007, we rolled it out pretty heavy. Everyone's 2-week sprints. Everyone's co-located. Everyone has a retrospective. Everyone has a planning meeting. Everyone breaks out tasks. And really, like, the whole deal.
Right.
Which, in a way, I think set us up for kind of loosening up in the right way. So we all got pretty ingrained into what worked and what didn't.
Right.
And then at a certain point, probably 3 years into it, we started realizing that we're focused much more, and this is I think what happens is you start getting focused on throughput, you start getting focused on kind of execution. And you get master executors, but then you lose focus on what's important and just the part of your brain that is actually figuring out how to solve the larger problems. And so we kind of at a certain point just like, you guys got this. There's no more rules. No more rules. And of course, a lot of people just out of habit kind of kept the things that worked and they're used to, and just stopped doing the things that didn't work, or different teams were doing different things, started using different stacks, started using really kind of breaking out, but working so close with the business to like really think about how can I help drive either this metric or this product or this customer's problem, and being part of that rather than the person waiting for the card to appear, and so and that's where we are today, I'd say, is much more just, I mean, everyone has 3 sort of hats at least in terms of how they play and what their roles are and how they move about things.
So we often talk about this idea of shuhari, or learn the rules, improvise within the system, and then sort of mastery and make up your own system and just improvise.
Yeah.
And it often sounds a little bit hokey.
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing, I think, is that has a sort of terminus.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm curious whether you think that makes any sense to even think of that sort of as a terminus.
Right.
As an endpoint.
There's some sort of enlightened state at the end.
Right.
Where you see the matrix and it all. It might exist. I don't know if people actually actively think that way. It might be, maybe how you could observe, but I don't think people are necessarily thinking that way.
I think what happens, and I was curious what your thoughts are on this, so I think you open up to a new set of things that you're just a beginner at.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
so
that's a good way to put it.
Maybe now that you can deliver, we can build the thing right. What's the right thing to build?
Yeah.
We think we know the customer.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, maybe we don't.
Yeah. I think that's right.
And it's a little louder here than I thought it would be. That's okay.
Well, I think I think we all had to start to learn a little bit about how to run a business.
Right.
And how, because I always sort of laugh a little bit at what we've done in the Agile community in terms of like, this is how you develop products.
Right.
And where I kind of laugh to think, what if the marketing came to you and be like, this is how we should do software. Right. and there's a certain amount of that going on where we were like, oh, we got this figured out. And really, most of us have not had to run a business.
Right.
And know how many shades of gray and how the trade-offs and how difficult they can be. But
I've heard about the Red Room at the Motley Fool.
That's right. And it is now the journey of like really, being enterprising, being entrepreneurial, and trying to really think about what makes a business work, armed with all this great knowledge of, the dynamics of a team and a system and how to deploy and develop code. It's really, it's really a great place to be if you get there.
Good.
All right. Thanks.
Any sort of profound thoughts from your talk? You almost got me to not cluck like a chicken. Oh, with your anchoring. I love the G. Gordon Liddy story about anchoring.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I'm just glad no one took their pants off. I was a little.
I was tempted to at least take my belt off.
I was thinking if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Bob.
You may have to describe the gag.
This is the first time I tried this, by the way, so I didn't know it was going to work. But I really find anchoring is one of the most powerful psychological sort of phenomena, I think, and that asking everyone in the crowd. The goal is to make everyone in the crowd balk like a chicken.
Right.
Which, if I were just to ask that would probably work. And so my ask was for everybody in the crowd to take their pants off. And as people sort of were wrapping their head around that, and I had to be like, no, really, I need you to take your pants off. And sort of people starting to be like, well, why would I do it? Then backing off from that, like, well, how about just balking like a chicken? Can we do that? And they're like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so that's it worked. I'm glad it worked because it would have been pretty awkward.
Yeah, Manoj and I did a talk where we talked about anchoring.
Yeah.
We talked about selection bias.
Yeah. All that cognitive.
So we did a whole bunch of looked at the cognitive research and said, how would this change the way we coach?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we said is understand that you come to the team with your own biases.
Yeah.
So for example, I think you present them some problem. It's like, oh, your sprints are too long, or like you just jump to a solution and you see the problem that you're trained to fix, not the one that exists. And I don't know. In saying that,
just being aware of it.
Just being aware of it helps. And you can't get no get out of jail free card. You always have.
The goal is
biases.
to try to see things, try your best to see things as they are.
Yep.
And knowing that we have no chance of actually achieving that, but to come as close as we can.
Yeah.
So, good.
Well, thank you for that little nugget. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
All right. No problem, Bob.
Yep.